My name is Engineer Alajemba Emmanuel. You're welcome to our lesson for today. The lesson one has to do with fundamentals of heating. But actually, this lesson is taken from the overall topic heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. And as you are aware, this is a branch of facility management. So, our lesson for this morning will be focused mainly on fundamentals of heating. Bear in mind that the heating we're referring to has to do with the HVAC system. And when we say HVAC, we mean heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. But we also need to add the refrigeration. And that is why in modern times, instead of saying HVAC, we say HVAC and R, which means H is for heating, the V stands for ventilation, the A and C stands for air conditioning, and then the R stands for refrigeration. So let's get along with the lesson. When we say HVAC system, what are we actually talking about? HVAC is used mainly in industries and also in residential buildings. We have structures in apartments, hotels, senior living apartments, even in aircraft system. In the hotel and catering departments or in the industry, we have the HVAC system. And in many industries around the country today, we find HVAC systems playing a key role in providing heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. And even in the marine world, in the submarines, in hospitals, in ships, you find HVAC being applied. Even in the medical world, HVAC systems are applied. But it is best to note that HVAC systems must be maintained and they also have to be employed under the safe and healthy conditions in order to meet safety regulations worldwide. Now, when we talk about heating, what actually are we referring to? Heating can be defined as a process and system of raising the temperatures of an enclosed space for the primary purpose of ensuring the comfort of the occupants. By regulating the ambient temperature of the surrounding, heating can also induce comfort. It helps companies like manufacturing or production companies to go along with their production processes. Now, apart from this, it is good to note that in HVAC systems, by regulating the ambient temperature, heating serves to maintain a building's structural, mechanical, and electrical systems. As you go along the study, you will get to know exactly what heating systems are all about, types of heating systems, and the heating systems that you will likely use in your industry or preferably in your homes. Now, what are heating systems? A heating system is a mechanism for maintaining temperatures at an acceptable level. Like I told you earlier on, heating is a process of raising the temperature of a building, whereas heating system is a mechanism used to actually raise the temperatures of this building. And when we say building, it could be an industry, it could be a hotel, it could be a medical facility, it could be a military facility, it could also be an aircraft. And these are all buildings that HVAC systems are actually employed to actually maintain humidity, temperature, the speed of flow, and all other aspects that are related to human comfort. So, a heating system is a mechanism for maintaining temperatures at an acceptable level by using thermal energy within a home, office, or other dwelling. We should also note that heating systems are a fundamental part of the HVAC and R system. So a heating system could be centrally or evenly distributed system. I will take that again. A heating system may be a central heating system or a distributed heating system. Basically, there are two types of heating systems we find around the world. One may even ask, in this part of the world, like in Africa or here in Nigeria, why do we need heating systems? We do because many of the industries, like in hotels, in medical practitioners, or in the medical industry, they require some form of temperature to maintain the drugs and even at the comfort of human homes. Now let's go back to what we are discussing, types of heating systems. There are basically two types of heating systems. Number one, the forced air heating system, and number two, the radiant heating system. In the notes, you will find the deeper explanation of these two types of heating system. The diagrams are well explained, and so I will refer you to the notes so that you can get a detailed explanation of forced air and radiant heating systems. Meanwhile, let us look at forced air, the peripheral of forced air heating system, so that you get to know exactly what forced air heating system is. This system is by far the most common type of heating systems that have been employed in the HVAC and RO system world. In a sense, it has a distribution type of network. It also has its own advantages and disadvantages. Now let's look at how the distribution is actually done. For forced air heating system, the distribution is done with air. Air is a distribution medium that carries the heat from one point to the other. It also has a furnace that is installed to supply heat that is used to run the system for the distribution. It also has ductwork. It also has registers. It has the ductwork connected to the registers that supplies the heat to wherever the heat is being needed. And it's also good to note that this heating system is very efficient. The fuel source is actually the furnace. It is used to supply the required amount of heat. And this furnace should be well maintained, and it has to be well regulated so that you may not end up supplying over heat to the surroundings of the building. So many of these furnaces come in various sizes and they come in various readings. These furnaces heat up, they serve as the fuel for the sources, and this fuel could be natural gas, propane, oil, or electricity. Now, what are the advantages of using the forced air heating system? One, the air could be filtered. It is easily accessible. The air may be filtered and humidified. It is also noted that it is inexpensive, and then it can also be maintained, unlike the other radiant system. Now, what are the disadvantages? It requires lots of ductwork. It requires huge amount of space, either through the wall or through the ceiling or through under the floor. Furnaces also make noise. These are one of the disadvantages. The noise coming from the furnaces can be so loud that it can even affect some of the occupants of the building. And apart from this, the air requires filtration and regular maintenance to ensure the safety and then the workability of the furnace. That is for the forced air heating system. Now let us go to the number 2 heating system that we said earlier, which is the radiant heating system. This system is known to provide the most natural and comfortable heat in the home. Like the name implies, radiant, it is natural. It can come in a number of forms. It works through the process of radiation or direct heat transfer from a hot to a cold surface. It could either be from the sunlight or it could be an artificial heat that is being supplied to the surrounding. Now, the distribution network is in this way. It is mainly distributed through hot water. Unlike the first one we mentioned, the forced air, the major means of distribution is the air. But for radiant heating system, the major means of distribution is via hot water. And it has to go through the hot water turbines so that you can pick up heat from one point to the other. And then it is also being embedded in walls and also on the floor and ceilings, depending on the design, to provide the suitable amount of heating in either it could be in the home, it could be in the offices, or in the industry. Now, what are the fuel sources? We have heating stoves. We also have radiant panels that have been constructed either on the ceiling or at the side of the walls to provide heating. We also have inflow systems that uses hot water, and also it has a boiler that is connected to supply heat from the hot water. Now, these heating stoves, we also use wood or coal, depending on the fuel source that you may choose and depending on the area. Now, like the first one we discussed, the forced air, it also has its own advantages and disadvantages. What are the advantages of the radiant heating system? Number one, it is comfortable. Knowing that it's from the natural source, it's also efficient because most of these boilers that are being supplied have a very long lifespan, so they can work efficiently. But however, it has some little disadvantages. It is very slow. It takes some time before the boilers will get heated up, and then the distribution will take place all over the building or the offices. Slow heating up circle is the disadvantages. Slow heating up circle around the surrounding. It's also very expensive to install. It also has some hidden piping, and so accessibility may also pose a challenge to any technician that's expected to actually assess and carry out maintenance and repair. The air conditioning requires a separate ductwork from the distribution of the heat, and that makes it more expensive than the forced air system. Now, what are some of the heat sources, like we mentioned earlier on? You can see from the picture we have the furnaces, we have compressors, we have electric heat pumps, we have sunlight, we have thermoelectric generator. The heat source could be a coal, it could also be gas. So it depends on the design. Whichever of these heat source that may be employed depends on the design, depends on the area, depends on the costing, it depends on the industry, it also depends on the climate. All these things have to be factored in when you are actually choosing the heat source. But meanwhile, when it comes to heating, most people prefer the heat source that is inexpensive or cheap. Like in this part of the world, in our own country, Nigeria, we rely mainly on gas. We also rely on fuel. Okay, some people might actually rely on electricity, but we all know that electricity is expensive, but most people go on gas or even fuel. Now, on what areas can we find heating being applied? I mentioned it earlier on, but let's go over it again. The concept of heating can be seen in almost all industries around the world. It can be seen in medicine, aviation industry, hospitality, engineering, food production and preservation, building construction, electricity generation. The list is endless. Even in your homes, sometimes you require heat. Although we are not in Europe or in Iceland or in where actually this heating is acquired or required in the home, but here in the country we require heating in the industries. For instance, in the hospitality industry, there are some drugs that have to be maintained at certain temperatures. Even in the food preservation industry, certain types of food need to be preserved at certain temperatures and they require heat. And so heating is also required here in this part of the world. Now let's go over all the things we've discussed earlier on. Just a few recap. We talked about heating. We said heating can be defined as a process and system of raising the temperature of an enclosed space for the primary purpose of ensuring the comfort of the occupants. Like I said, it could be a building, it could be an office, or it could be a working industry. And then I said earlier on that there are majorly two types of heating systems: the forced air heating system and the radiant heating system. And so that is how we want to call off our lesson for today. I hope you did enjoy it. We look forward to the next lesson when we'll be discussing about the fundamentals of ventilation. Thank you.